Law is always kind of muddy waters for the layman. So let's start with that.
3 months projects have been extended to 1 year, almost, like more than that. They're not getting paid, by the way, beyond that 3 months, right? Because they don't value their time, right? So they're like, cool, I'll give you unlimited division. Why would you give him that much power? 90% of the time people would just want issues to be solved, like without going to court. There's always both parties at fault, because the reason why I say this will hurt a lot of people when I say this, but
Hello, Akhil. How's it going? Super awesome having you.
good morning, Radin. I'm doing good. Now, how's everything on your side?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing well. This is such a fun conversation I was looking forward to because it's interesting. And
Yeah, man.
Law is always kind of muddy waters for the layman. So let's start with that. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Akhil. I'm the co-founder of a legal firm, MT Legal Team, and we started in 2019. So it's like close to 5 years now. Law is something that is confusing. Like, you are right, and that is why we started the firm, because we saw a gap in the market, you can say, which is where there's a lot of people telling you what to do, not a lot of people telling you why that needs to be done, right? So we focus a lot more on the why, right? Like you might have seen like some of the posts I do, like there's always like substance I give to it, like why am I talking about this, why is this important, how does it affect my life? So that is law to me. If you apply it like nicely to your business, what it can do is it will help you first of all grow. And why it can help you grow, it's because you're not dealing with fines, license, any issues like that, right? And the second thing is you are perfectly safe. So any revenue that you are generating, you're not just losing it right and left, like you're keeping that revenue. So those are the two things, like a reason why law is important on my level.
That's always like a nightmare, right? You wake up the next day and there's legal issues. Now you're gone.
Yeah.
Now the difficulty is not even only that it's legal and it's like, it's judicial or something, but you don't actually know where to start solving it. Like there's
Exactly.
You don't have a clue about it. And that's why, so the agenda of this podcast is kind of, to make like a crisp info packed one for startups and agencies. So let's start with like the common mistakes that you see companies making, your clients.
My clients are mainly they're in three sectors, right? So they're in the fintech, IT, and SaaS, right? I'll mainly speak about IT because I know you are in the IT space, right? So it will be like fun in that sense, right? So the main issue that I see in the IT space is communication. Like outside of the legal like things, there's communication. Communication issues is the main thing. And by communication, I mean it could be verbal, it could be written, it could be anything, right? Text based, anything like that, right? And which is why the issues start happening, right? So how can you communicate better? First of all, like the main thing I suggest is through contracts. Anything you say on call is what you write on contract. And the other thing is you just don't start assuming things, right? Because that's another communication issue where people assume that the main thing I've seen is, for example, you might you can be a new website agency or anyone, right? You can say like, I'll develop you this website in 30 days time, right? What happens if you don't, right? Is the client going to wait? Are you going to work for free? What's going on? Who's at fault, right? So communicate that early on. Make sure you are clear on that, like early on.
And the stakes for like big revenue and big deliverable projects are also huge.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, just simple ego clashes can lead to so many things.
Yeah, I've seen cases where 3 months projects, like I've talked to agency owners, is like 3 months projects have been extended to 1 year, almost, like more than that. They're not getting paid, by the way, beyond that 3 months, because they have nothing to communicate. What happens if like the project is extended? Can I leave the project, right? Am I supposed to pay you for damages for wasting your time? What if the client is at fault now, right? What if the client was supposed to give you some like logos, website content, copies, right? They didn't give you. Who's at fault then? Is it the client, right? But then why didn't you have that in your contract, right? So like there's a lot of back and forth that goes on there.
After loopholes, right?
Exactly. So you have to be considerate of every single step that there is. Obviously, this is more true for the bigger project. For smaller projects, it's like quick exchange.
That's what I was thinking. What percentage of times would you say like a legal route is preferred versus, understanding and deliberation between the two parties?
Depends on what's at stake, by the way. No, most of the time, I'd say like 90% of the time, people would just want issues to be solved, like without going to court. Right? Because court is like long process. Especially in India, I don't think no one wants to go to court unless the amount is high.
Absolutely.
Right, because I've read cases where the disputes are happening for amounts like 20 million, like USD. Right? That would make sense why you are going to court. But then again, then the contract that you have for such projects then become also important, right?
Mhm.
But even in those cases that I've read, right, those cases can be solved if the communication was good. Like quite literally, the communication was good, because there are certain times there are expectations that are made, there are assumptions that are made that if properly communicated could have been solved. One good example I can give you is like I can say I'm a web designer, for example, right? Hypothetically, I don't know anything about designing, but if I am a web designer here and I tell you that I'll give you a fully functional website, right? Tell me what a fully functional website means. Like, can I measure it? Is it measurable? What is it? Is it 3 pages, 5 pages, 10 pages, right? Is there a scope for more thing? Are you doing SEO? Is that included in the fully functional website? And what's going on? Is it on WordPress, Webflow? Where is it custom? Those things matter a lot.
Like I'm establishing my own studio, and the contract sides of thing is super interesting because, again, as you said, in India it's not mostly about enforcing it. It's mostly like it's like a legal handshake, so to say, that yes,
Yeah.
we are agreeing to this. So
Yeah.
I'll stick to it, you stick to it, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So
But no one does at the end.
Yeah.
Like there's always both parties at fault, because the reason why I say this will hurt a lot of people when I say this, but people want something cheap. In India, clients don't care what they are getting as long as it's cheap, right? They don't care about quality. Web agencies I've seen, they don't care about what the client needs as long as they are getting it. There's a match. It's a match made in heaven where issues are to happen, right? So
it's a match made in heaven where issues are to happen.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. What would you think, or not think, what would you say are the top 5 common challenges in contracts that people face? It is scope creep, or like more deliverables revisions. What is?
Everything stems down for communication, right? So communication is the main thing you can say, and then it goes down from it. The main issues I've seen, the four issues I've seen that most people have seen face. I know you asked 5, but I'm giving you 4.
Sure.
It's the first thing is the revision part. People like to give unlimited revision for some reason, right? Because they don't value their time, right? So they're like, cool, I'll give you unlimited revision. Why would you give him that much power to the client, right? They'll keep asking you for revision after revision then. So that's the one thing. The other thing is out of scope work. Out of scope work is like client will ask, hey, can you add this, that? The agency are like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, sure, why not? That you are sure why not becomes like it extends the project so much, right? You were supposed to give him 5 things, you are now giving him 10 things. Double the project, same way, right? Then the other thing is the late payment issues. Right, late payment is just generally like client is not paying you at all. You have asked the client to like, cool, can I get paid on this and that amount, right? And they're like, cool, I'll give you on this and that day, but they're generally not giving you that, right? And the other thing about this is whether you are missing deadlines because of the client's fault or not. That is never communicated, right? Because you can like if I'm going back to the previous example I gave you, it's like if I'm developing a website for you, right, and you are supposed to give me some like website copy, logos, trademark, anything, right? So if you're not giving me that, and that's a main part of the website, then am I to be blamed as a web agency owner for it, or is it you, the client? Because the client will never take blame unless it's a good client. That is another issue that there's back and forth happening. So those are the main 4 things I've seen. And then 5th point I can say is like, I can tell you, which is like most people don't know how to upsell their services. Right? They give things for free that are taken for granted here, right? Like call support, for example. That is like, I'm paying you, I'll get the call. So what do you mean you're charging extra for it? Right? What do you mean I can't call you anytime I want? I'll call you at 11 at night. What do you mean? I'm paying you something, right? So that boundary thing is never appreciated.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if I have to kind of relate it to my specific field, which is like brand design strategy and development, which includes web as well, but majorly brand. So at Amec, which is in the studio, we have like proper clauses for it, that what constitutes a revision and what constitutes an iteration. And you can ask for maybe a few iterations. By few, we have a number that we decide there itself. And revisions are basically like 1 or 2 max. And after that, we charge for it. Again, when we say we charge for it, what do you mean? Do I have to move the button a bit? Does that cause as an iteration, or is it something or a complete revision? So for that, like I knew from the start that this would be a problem otherwise. So I had that covered up. And
that is smart. That is actually very smart. I would even suggest tie it to a couple of things I can suggest. There is tie it to first of all a milestone, right? Tie everything to a milestone, and then I would say document everything. Right. If you've asked something from me, I'll document it so that if you agree to it because this has happened. Like I'm not joking. Where client will say something that they have agreed to it, but they like 3 months down the line they're like, why have you put this? It's like, you asked me to. What do you mean? Why have you put this? Right? And
then they'll just back out from that.
Exactly. Even on a basic level, people don't read messages. If that makes sense. Why can I say this is because I once posted so I like to post like my any post that I do on LinkedIn, I posted on groups, WhatsApp groups. Right? So one of the posts that I did was on web agencies. Right? I was like, there are 5 clauses that you have to look out for in contract. These are the 5 clauses. If some guy replied there, what do you call it? He's like, if you are a web agency owner, you have to put your website too, right? Why is your not website? Why can I find your website? I'm like, my website is in development. I'm not a web agency owner. I'm a lawyer, right? He ignored that message, by the way. And then he's like, I feel web agency owners should have a website as it is their portfolio. I'm like, I'm not a web agency. Why do you keep saying that? Like, but you keep assuming. So they ignore you. Yeah, no, it's not even miscommunication. They just ignore what you're saying. Like, what's going on there, right? So you have to get it in signing because people are doing so much. I think that's why they get confused.
Payments as well. Yeah. Like it's advised for big ticket clients in our field that you divide it in either 2, which is get the first payment after the work is like you have shown the green flag that we're ready to work. Only when you get the first payment do you start working on anything, even like inspirations or anything. And the second payment is in the middle phase. And a lot of times, lots of clients are like, can we just change that time frame a bit? And I'm like, why do you want to change it? If you don't have $20,000 right now, then maybe do it later, a month later, we can talk. That kind of a thing, And I've heard more and more people going towards that. A lot of people also kind of not going towards that route and then regretting it because they're not getting the payments, or like, again, more and more revisions creep up and then not getting paid for it. That's it. But on that note, what would you think are like the common, or not common, the most important clauses that contract should cover in our space?
Depends on what project, because it's contextual, right? Like it depends on the context.
Yeah, let's do like a website for a fintech company, 10 pages.
Fintech company. So in fintech company, then IP becomes very important, right? Because the design, I wouldn't even say the design part is as important as the security part of that website. Right, whether you are providing that security or not, right? Whether you are using a third-party software or not for that security now, right? Whether your mockups, your designs are taken from third-party or not, right? So is it like, can you log in on that website, right? Where is that saved now? Login information, is the client server, your server, where is it being saved? Is it a third-party server, right? So for a fintech one, you would genuinely have to dive deep into it. I can give you one example.
Documentation.
Yeah, I would focus on a couple of things. I'll focus on IP is one of the main thing, right? Like how is it being transferred, whose IP is being used, right? The second thing is the liability. I would focus on 100%, right? If something was to happen to the website, through which the client's business suffers, is it my fault now or your fault? Because one of the people I know, right, is from Cyprus, and he runs like a web agency, right? And what he did was, I'm going to change up a story a bit, just to like protect him. But what he did was he made a website for, like, say for example, like gambling website, and he created everything. He did everything. He security wise, he done XYZ, full thing. Delivered the project. 6-7 months down the line, there was an attack on that website where all the information, login information, everything just got stolen. What the company did now was blame the website owner, the creator, basically, agency. The project was for like, I think $20,000-$30,000, but what the company did was they charged him $180,000 for damages, right? So they lost $150,000 in that project now, right? Because they did not tie their liability, first of all, to the amount of the payment that they are getting. So it extended that liability, because normally speaking, it should have been 30,000 if you are getting blamed at all. That is
true,
right? And the second thing is you have to check who's at fault there, right? There was nothing to be given in the liability section. In which cases am I, as a web agency owner, even liable for things that are happening on your website? Is it because of things that I have done, or is it because like some random sneeze happened in your office and I'm not getting blamed for it? Like, what's going on there, right? So those liabilities, one of the main points I would say, focus on it in terms of bigger projects where the stakes are high. Bigger risk, bigger reward.
This one is a learning I'll take for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, for startups, if you have to talk about, what are like the most recommended legal things that a young founder or agency owner should possess to avoid any legal or financial mess? Like the things that people should be aware of and they should know already.
I would say one thing I would say is like, do your research work first of all, like before doing anything, like any space that you're working under. Like, don't just Google like how to start a startup, because that would tell you like start a business, register a business, right? I can say this confidently, like 9 out of 10 times you don't need a business register, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything. Understand first of all why you are doing what you're doing, right? The point of getting a business registered is to protect yourself from liability, risks, right? If you don't have anything, there is no risk, right? If you don't even have a customer base, there is no risk that you're protecting yourself against, right? It's like getting a lock for a door for a house that doesn't even exist. What do you mean you're spending money on that, right? So one thing is understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? And understand the why behind everything. Why do you need a contract? What is the main thing? Contract is one of the main defense I will tell anyone to have for any business that they have. Like even IP protection, I would say just get a contract early on, because patent, trademark, and everything take time, right? So in the meantime, you can just get a contract that you can sign with the party, and then you can do anything. Even if you are getting help from someone, obviously you're not doing everything on your own, right? You are delegating some part of it. Get a contract, right? If you're getting a website, get contracts on those too. Contracts would be your first line of defense when it comes to anything that you are doing, and then move forward to the more niche part, which is like getting businesses, this and that. Getting for the license part, I would say is research that early on. If it's like super regulated field, like fintech for example, like is a regulated field, so like understand whether you need a license or not. Don't just build a website, build a software only to find out you need a license you don't have money for, right? Understand that part. So do your research work is what I would say for any business owner.
Contracts, I think, are like the best form of like expectation management and setting guardrails to a project like execution.
Yeah, they're flexible. That's what I like about them. There's no, I mean, sure there are regulation rules for it. There you have to still follow the law, but they're still very flexible when it comes to it, because at the end of the day, it's like two people agreeing to something. Right? The court always looks to that, whether there was deceivement, like there was any cheat being done, right? So whether it's like by their own account, right? So that flexibility is very important.
What brought you towards this field, like this specific field of clients that you're catering to?
I like technology, right? So I like IT. I like because the main reason is that products I like because I use products every single day. Fintech is something that we are not exactly new to it, but now we are focusing a lot, right? And it is a space that is going to grow a lot. It's actually growing very fast everywhere, right? So there's companies coming in India, companies going outside of India, right? So there's a lot of happening there, right? So that is one of the main reasons. And when we started off, those were the normal clients that we were getting. This space was web development, software development. Those were the main people that we were getting, right? So we understood this space a lot better from client side and then agency side, right? So the reason why we stick to it is because we are like, cool, the people in this space are also very nice to work with, right? They understand it. So that is the reason why we stuck with it.
That's like towards the end, and like I have some kind of, say, dumb questions, like vague questions. I would love to ask them to you. For a contract to be legally binding, what is required? Like for a layman, for someone, let's say as young as me, starting the agency, is it possible that I figure out the Indian contract law from ChatGPT and from Google and other sources? I figure them out, I read through them, and I make my own contract. Will that be legally binding if that's signed and
anyone
went through
can
India?
make a contract. That is not an issue, right? Anyone can make a contract, right? So you don't need paralegals can also make a contract, or lawyers can make a contract, right? It's like a nurse giving you an injection. A doctor can give you an injection. A nurse can give, like even a child can give you an injection, right? But the main thing is understanding whether the injection is right for you or not. That is the main thing. It's
but
not
the injection
so much,
can be given.
Injection can be given, yeah, exactly. It's the components of that injection that are main thing. Even a small formula change, can be important there, right? So understanding, you can do your research work. I wouldn't suggest going to ChatGPT for it. The reason why I say that is ChatGPT doesn't ask you questions. That's the main issue with it, right? It's first of all, it's not up to date with the laws. There is a lot of assumptions it makes about you and the law that you are in, right? And even when you do prompt generated, at the end of it literally tells you do not trust me. In a weird way, it's like, do not trust me, just go to a lawyer, right? So that is the main thing. And you have to have someone that is doing a bit of back and forth. You can understand the law, but then you have to understand the industry. That is the main part of it, right? Because you can understand that, cool, like for example, you can say this one cake takes 10 ingredients, right? Then you understand the basics of it, right? But what if a cake that you're making for like a person that has allergies to eggs or something, peanuts or something, right? So understanding the nuances of it makes it more complex, basically.
Sense. Another advice I would ask is, how important do you think, I mean, you kind of touched upon it, but do you think business registration is something that a lot of people should think about at the start? Or, just get started, do the work, get some traction. Basically first build a business, then think about a business registration. But would it be something you would...
I would agree to that, yeah. I'm normally of the opinion that you don't need a business registered if you don't have anything to protect.
Especially as a young agency, so to say, because work is limited. You have to get work constantly. You're not in that momentum. So it's kind of a waste of time and money.
Agency wise, I would definitely say you don't need a business registered, right? You just need a bank account. You just take payment in your bank account. Right. But for a business registration, that is purely for startups or businesses, right? It depends. It depends on a lot on what you are doing. 9 out of 10 times people don't know what they are doing. That's not even, I'm not trying to insult anyone. That is the reality.
I mean, till the MVP stage, you're still figuring things out. You're
not even sure of MVP. People this is my personal experience, which is people are too focused on investors. They don't care about the users that much, which is I've talked to so many people where they're like, can you connect me with investors? That's the first message, right? I don't even know who are you.
Yeah.
Right. And then I ask them about their startup and they give me such vague answers. It's like, do you not need the connection? What's going on? Right? You have to tell me in excitement what this startup is about. And then we ask them cool, how many people you have? How many users do you have? They're like, oh, it's an ideation stage. You do what? Why would an investor invest in you then? For what reason would they do it? Right? So understanding that part is important. Then
that part brings some memories actually. I was talking to the founder of Alia. It's a website pop-up tool that works with customer education and brand storytelling. So super niche but super cool. And I was talking to the guy Shan Arora. He told me that him and Corey, both the co-founders, both of them told me the same thing, that they started out just developing the product, talking to users, and they just continued that loop and created the product. And few months in, investors started reaching out to them. Does it all make sense, right? You have to make that
it makes sense. It's instead of chasing people, you can just attract them. That's the reality of it. It's business clients, anything like that. All right. But then going back to the original question, startups don't need registration unless they are doing something that is super niche, where registration is required, because there are some payment platforms like Stripe or like those e-commerce websites, right? Even if you're opening a bank account somewhere outside, right, they will ask for a business address, right? So in those cases, it would make sense why you are getting a business, right? So, but there has to be a reason for it, and you have
Otherwise,
to
you
figure
wouldn't
that
recommend
out.
it.
Exactly.
Awesome. It was such a fun conversation. All the best for MT Legal. I hope you guys keep doing great work, because law for the layman is muddy waters. And it's hard for us to understand this.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. This is good. Good
Awesome.
questions. I like
It's awesome having you.
It's fun.
Thank you.